Hello, today for review I've got really interesting earphones made by TANGZU, hope I pronounced it correct, as well as model name Zetian, and it's the new edition called Heyday edition. And both name TANGZU and Zetian, it's related to China history, to Tang dynasty and so on. I'm a bit uneducated in this area, so I will focus on the earphones themselves. And this version is designed in cooperation with Bad Guy Good Audio Review, Chris, or I don't remember who is good, who is bad there. But despite that fact, I have a really high hopes for these earphones because it's a 14.5mm planar magnetic driver with great design. You can just see the quality of polygraphy. It's really superb, and when creators pay that attention to the polygraphy, it's usually a good sign that they paid attention for everything else. Their price is $200 so far in the shops I can see, and first buyers got this mouse pad, actually a great bonus. I'm not sure is it still available because it was a limited promo, but maybe it's still available. It's required to be checked on their official website. But anyway, let's have a closer look because all that seems to be really promising. So nice, really nice polygraphy. Box is a bit bigger than it could be probably because it's a bit too big for the earphones, but I think they made it to fit this picture in higher quality, and actually it definitely deserves that. When you remove this outer sleeve, it unveils the inner box, and actually it's also really surprising. It has a nice soft pleasant texture. I usually don't like that pseudo velvet textures, but this one is really pleasant. It has kind of soft touch finish, so really bring you in the mood of being really positive about earphones. So inside some piece with manual, earpieces storage here with some logo plate, actually not logo, some caption plate. They should work with this sound a little bit. Also you get pretty good set of tips. You can see base enhanced, balanced and foam tips, so you've got a good choice. Actually not sure about the foams, they doesn't look like one, and yes, it's not a foams, maybe it's some pre-production option, but those are not the foam tips, but still enough tips to find something that will suit your tastes. And big nice storage case, not super optimal for everyday carrying, but really nicely made with good texture and nice quality. And here you'll get cable and replaceable jacks, so nice thing to have in modern days. In terms of design, earphones are also great. They're made of metal, they have pretty thick shell based on the weight. Of course it's not super heavy, but you will feel that it's pretty dense metal. On the faceplate they created that interesting pattern with grooves, some kind of flower or something like that, fitting nicely two pieces together. And the rest is pretty ergonomic, fitting nicely into ear, at least to mine, so it feels really natural and I don't have issues with wearing, but of course it's subjective. Spouts are average in length and the sound isolation is slightly below average, but for noisy street or not noisy public transport it will be okay. And as you can see, there are bunch of vent holes. There is a lip for holding the tips and protective grill to protect the internals of earphones from some debris falling inside. Actually, nice level of build and good attention to details. And cable is made replaceable. Here used 2-pin connectors, absolutely classical, no recessed sockets, no recessed pins, just absolutely flat 2-pin connector like in good old times. The simplest way if you want to get some third-party cable. Fit nicely and holds pretty well. Cable has interesting bluish color, looks really nicely braided, pretty thick, but at the same time soft enough for comfortable wearing. It's not super soft, but still good with low microphonic effect, and this ear hooks helps to minimize it. It goes down to this splitter with chin slider and then goes down to this connector for connectors. Actually, it's not blue in color, it's just covered with blue protective film, but I will peel it off later. There is no locking mechanism here involved, but sometimes less mechanic details means better quality. So connector appears to be a bit big, and probably it could have been done smaller, but anyway, possibility of having all three possible connections in one is a really good option. So in terms of design, I have zero complaints too. And of course about the sound, I gave them 48 hours of burn-in, and there were no big changes in their sound during that process. And actually I use balanced tips. You can get basic ones if you'd like more low frequencies, but keep in mind that it will add a bit more quantity of low frequencies, and at the same time it won't add additional weight. You know, one idea came to my mind, so I'd like to highlight before the whole review. So who should avoid this model, or actually not avoid, but at least try before buying. Maybe for you there won't be sense in listening the rest of this video. So it's not the model for those who like super weighty, super meaty bass. It's planar magnetic earphones. They are more focused on the speed and the resolution, but at the same time they give a good punch and deliver a normal amount of weight, but not adding more weight than is present in the record. Also, it's not a model for those who want representation focused on the micro contrast, super analytical or super natural. Sometimes planar magnetic earphones deliver that, but not in this case. And it's also not a model for those who need like really boosted emotions, boosted dynamics. No, it's more natural, it's more balanced, it's musical, with really good amount of details, but not focusing on them. Actually, you know, it delivers what you expect from nice planars, but it's not trying to be over planars. Like typically planars are more focused on the micro contrast, sounding closer to balanced armatures. No, here you got a musical representation, but not in terms of like musical that is sometimes applied to some warm muffled sound signature. No, here you got a good clarity, but at the same time pretty whole representation that sounds pleasant. So bass goes pretty deep, deeper layers of bass are really well controlled, but they are not pushed forward, so they are present but not trying to grab your attention and sound over dominating. Mid bass has the main accent, but it's also not that big to sound overwhelming or boring, at least with balanced tips of course. And they have a really good amount of small nuances and overtones, but they're not boosting the weight on the low frequencies. So to my subjective taste, it suits more for the real instruments, not for synthesized genres of electronic music. But I've got a bunch of that stuff in my collection and I'm getting enough of low frequencies. So it's a matter of preferences, of course. So it's not model for bass heads, but definitely not the model for those who like super fast, super dry bass. It's like balancing somewhere in between, and I really like that. So first example for the low frequencies, it's American Gods. If I remember, it was season 2 and track named American Dream. First few seconds are just like some violin intro, but then appears bass and it's present, it's pretty monotone and it's dominating, and I hope that I'm sure, sure is correct word, that it was the main idea of composers, and on the foundation of that bass line all the rest of melody develops, and these earphones are saturating everything pretty good. They are really coherent, and bass is not dominating over mid frequencies, so sounds kind of balanced. And second example, perfectly fitting for these earphones, it's Casey Abrams, Nature Boy, and acoustic double bass, properly recorded. It's just the thing where they shine, because you're getting all that nuances, all that micro details, that sense of wood and strings and so on. Not like on some $1,000 headphones, I'm speaking roughly of course, not all $1,000+ earphones are good enough. But anyway, so you'll get that nuances and you'll get that sense of real instrument. And thanks to the great coherence, just one driver, bass transitions nicely into mids, and mid frequencies sounds nice. You'll get good amount of details, but not too much to sound dry or analytical. This earphones doesn't try to boost emotions or add some weight or dynamics, but when it's present in the record, it will deliver it really well to you. You'll get all that nuances, you'll get emotions, so basically you'll need something better recorded to unveil the full potential of this model. In case of good record and good source, instruments will sound natural, vocals will sound saturated, and so on. Upper mids are a bit highlighted here, but not too much, so they don't giving you that over sharp female vocal and super aggressive guitars. Bit of that coloration is present, but not too much. Imaginary stage is not huge, but for me it's accurately built, above average, but not like hugely above average, with good instrument separation, and actually width is slightly better than depth. I'd like to get a bit more depth layer separation, but still for this price segment I think stage is built pretty nice and enjoyable. And thanks to the good treble performance, you'll get a noticeable amount of air and nuances and details. Just few examples. So first one is Child in Time, and that's an example of a track with good emotions present in record. And of course these earphones deliver it great. Keyboard line, all that percussions, vocal, so all parts of this great famous tune are developed and presented well by these earphones. And second track, of course, these earphones not enough to show the whole potential, but it's Hoff Ensemble, and it's like super high quality record. It's not maybe one of the best records ever created, but one of the best I've ever heard. And Red Mama is just, relaxed jazz music, almost acoustical, but thanks to the quality of record, it's just a pleasure to listen to. And to show the full potential, you'll need something noticeably more high-end, but still in this segment, these earphones delivered really well. I like what I hear. I'd prefer a slightly bigger stage, but still accurate representation of instruments and emotions is nice. And treble, it's not super harsh, but actually it's not harsh at all, but it's not trying to hide treble area. It's putting a bit of additional energy. It has a good extension, not maximum, but really good. Of course, no rich layering for the treble, but overtone saturation is at a really good level, and it sounds a bit closer to balanced armatures with more air, with slightly fast attacks and decays, but really effortless, really pleasant to ears, at the same time not super harsh, at least actually not harsh at all. I'm always trying to say like not super harsh, but that means it's like harsh but not too much. So they don't sound harsh to me at all, just a bit of additional energy, and subjectively I like that, but I'm in general a fan of well-developed treble. And first example here. Oh, yep, first example, it's Miles Davis, blue and green, and you understand why it's here. And also it's not 100% perfect for these earphones, but still they deliver it on the really good level without big nitpicking. And come on, just go to the first track. I wanted something saturated with percussions, with that bells and rattles and stuff, so it's Pat Metheny and Lyle Mace. Ozark really like upbeat melody, I like its mood, and I like that airness and tones of percussions that welcomes you from the start and keeping your attention all the time. It's just the track that gives me a better mood. And of course not when I'm remembering the TV series, but I'm pretty sure that Ozark in general is a good place to spend some time, to spend vacations there, and maybe someday I will get there. But these earphones play all that percussions pretty well. They lacking, of course, a bit of layering for them to present them 100% perfect, but still really good results here. And speaking about sources, they require a bit of additional power. Actually, they're not super power hungry, they don't require like FIO M17 in the DC connected mode to show the full potential, but still something with enough of driving power will be a good plus for them. But luckily, you know, almost all modern players delivers a pretty good driving power. But anyway, more power will be beneficial for them. 100 decibels and 16 ohms of impedance is not super hard, but pretty noticeably hard load, so just pay attention on the power delivery of your source and how it works with low impedance earphones, because often it's even more complex load. As for comparisons, unfortunately I can't recall some planar magnetic earphones in this price segment, except of IMR EDP, but EDP is just differently tuned. They have dynamic driver to get more weight on the low frequencies and so on. And not much sense in comparing them with some hybrid or balanced armature models, because still it's planar magnetic model that is like somewhere balancing in between armatures and dynamic drivers, but in this case I'd say that it's a bit shifted towards the dynamic drivers side. So really interesting model that I like. It's not like 100% perfection, not like a giant killer, but it's a really good model for this price, and I think it's a really honest deal. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.